The world's attention is fixed on Southeast Asia, where fighting has once again flared along the tense and heavily militarized border between Thailand and Cambodia. This isn't just a local skirmish, this is a conflict with deep historical roots, and the stakes are higher than ever. As military vehicles rumble through border towns and international news crews set up their cameras, the sense of urgency is palpable. The border, long a flashpoint for nationalist sentiment and political maneuvering, has become the epicenter of a crisis that threatens to spiral out of control. And now, in a twist few saw coming, former US President Donald Trump has entered the fray. His involvement has sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles and left many wondering what role he could possibly play in a conflict so far from American shores. Here's what you need to know about how this unlikely figure is shaping the search for peace. Over the past several weeks, tensions between Thailand and Cambodia have erupted into the region's worst fighting in more than a decade. What began as sporadic exchanges of gunfire has escalated into full-scale clashes involving heavy artillery, drones, and even airstrikes. The border zone, once a place of uneasy peace, has become a war zone. Soldiers on both sides are on high alert, and the sound of gunfire echoes through villages that have seen too many cycles of violence. The fighting has not only shattered the fragile calm, but also reignited old wounds and fears among the local population. The human cost has been devastating. At least 35 lives have been lost so far, and the number continues to rise as the fighting drags on. More than 200,000 people, men, women, and children, have been forced to flee their homes, seeking safety wherever they can find it. Entire villages have been reduced to rubble by artillery barrages, and the constant threat of drone strikes has left many too afraid to return. Aid organizations are struggling to keep up with the influx of refugees, and the humanitarian crisis is deepening by the day. Families have been torn apart, livelihoods destroyed, and the trauma of war is etched on the faces of those who have survived. At the heart of this conflict lies a centuries-old dispute over the Preah Vihear Temple, a breathtaking UNESCO World Heritage Site perched atop a dramatic cliff on the border. The temple, with its intricate carvings and sweeping views, is not just a symbol of cultural heritage, it's a powerful emblem of national pride for both countries. For generations, Thais and Cambodians have claimed the temple as their own, and the surrounding land has become a battleground for identity, history, and sovereignty. The temple's strategic location makes it a coveted prize, and its fate has been the subject of bitter debate for decades. The roots of the dispute stretch back to the colonial era, when ambiguous maps and shifting borders sowed confusion and resentment. In 1962, the International Court of Justice ruled that the temple itself belonged to Cambodia, but left the status of the surrounding land unresolved. This legal gray area has fueled decades of tension, with both countries maintaining armed patrols and building up military infrastructure along the border. Despite the court's decision, neither side has been willing to back down, and the lack of a clearly defined boundary has made the area a perpetual flashpoint. The situation is further complicated by nationalist politics, historical grievances, and the economic interests tied to the land. As accusations fly over who fired the first shots in the latest round of clashes, the international community has scrambled to respond. World leaders have called for restraint, and emergency meetings have been convened at the United Nations and within ASEAN. Diplomats are working around the clock to prevent the conflict from spreading, and there is a growing sense of alarm that the violence could destabilize the entire region. The stakes are high, not just for Thailand and Cambodia, but for the broader international order. The world is watching closely, and the pressure to find a peaceful solution has never been greater. Into this volatile mix steps Donald Trump, a figure whose approach to international diplomacy has always been unconventional. According to sources close to both governments, Trump personally reached out to the leaders of Thailand and Cambodia, urging them to come to the negotiating table. He reportedly threatened to impose hefty new tariffs on both countries if the violence continued, leveraging America's economic power to force a pause in the fighting. Trump's intervention has been met with a mix of skepticism and cautious optimism. Some see his involvement as a publicity stunt, while others believe his willingness to use economic pressure could break the deadlock where traditional diplomacy has failed. Regardless of the motives, his actions have undeniably shifted the dynamics of the crisis. In a rare show of unity, both the Thai and Cambodian governments have publicly thanked Trump for his efforts, and have agreed to participate in peace talks scheduled for July 28 in Malaysia. The talks will be attended not only by representatives from Thailand and Cambodia, but also by officials from the United States, China, and ASEAN. The presence of these major powers underscores the seriousness of the situation and the hope that a lasting solution can be found. The world will be watching as diplomats gather in Kuala Lumpur, hoping that this latest round of negotiations will finally bring an end to the cycle of violence. But the road to peace is fraught with challenges. Previous attempts at negotiation have collapsed amid mutual distrust and political pressure at home. Both sides face powerful nationalist factions that oppose compromise, and any agreement will have to address not only the status of the Preah Vihear temple, but also the broader issues of border demarcation, security, and economic cooperation. The talks in Malaysia represent a critical opportunity, but there are no guarantees. Will this be the breakthrough moment that finally ends decades of conflict, or just another temporary pause before the next round of violence? The world waits with bated breath. As the situation continues to evolve, we want to hear from you. What do you think about Trump's unexpected role in the peace process? Can outside pressure really bring about a lasting solution? Or are the roots of this conflict too deep to be resolved by diplomacy alone? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and stay tuned for more updates as we follow this critical regional showdown. The eyes of the world are on Thailand and Cambodia, and the next chapter in the story is about to be written.